plant and you don't feed the plant, then the plant is going to die. If you have a baby and you don't feed the baby's going to die. There's nothing that grows without you putting time into it. If I have a painting and I say I want to make this painting and I don't put any time into creating the painting, then the painting is, there's not going to be a painting. If I have a project and I don't put any time into the project, then the project is not going to get done. If I have a fitness plan and I don't put in the work, then it doesn't matter. I'm going to get fat. If I get married and I don't spend any time with my spouse, I invest no time in my spouse and my children, then my marriage is not going to last. So I just kind of want you to ask yourselves, why would this not be true for the Black community? Every time you hear a story about Black communities falling apart, families falling apart, tragic things happening to Black children or excessive Black poverty, I want you to ask yourself two questions. One, who's investing in the Black community? And the answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about why the community is falling apart. And then two, I want you to ask, who do we expect to invest in the Black community? What Superman are we waiting for? I know it. You're waiting for white people, and white people don't give a damn, nor should they give a damn, and then your community falls apart. I mean, you are the superhero that you've been waiting for. If you abandon your own people, then why would you be surprised when the Democratic Party abandons your people? When you abandon your people, why would you be surprised when white people abandon your people? When you abandon your people, why would you be surprised even when celebrities abandon Black people too? I have to fight with people. Whenever I say, that celebrity just spent $100 million with white people, maybe he should invest 10 million of that 100 million into the Black community. Do you know how many Black people I have to fight with who somehow think that was an outrageous thing to say? That literally think I'm a hater because I said that? That's and I don't understand it, because that's as simple as, that's almost like saying that a father is supposed to spend time with his kids and not the neighbor's kids. But for some reason, for whatever reason, we've been trained to believe that we're not worthy of anybody's investment. Now, of course, I'm not going to change my position. I'm going to stay the same. I'm going to keep saying exactly how I say it, but I just want you to pay attention to those debates. And when you see those debates happening, when you see people abandoning something, think of it like a business. Pamela Coakley, if you and I see your comment in here, someone uses my example. Pamela, if you and I start a business together and we fill out the paperwork and say, this is the Pamela and Boyce business, C&P Incorporated or PNC Incorporated. And then let's say that that we start working and we have this opportunity to make money, but we have to develop a product. We have to have business meetings, things like that. And imagine if every time you call me for a meeting, I say, Pamela, I ain't got time. And, or every time the business needed something, you said, I got to go to work. So you got a job, you got to go to work. And I just don't want to do it. I'm like, well, I got an extra hour, but I'm going to spend that time watching Netflix. So I'm going to spend that time doing the things that matter to me. What kind of business are we going to have? Is that business going to be successful? Does that business have a chance in hell of succeeding? No, it does not. It can't succeed, because in order to have a harvest, you must plant a seed. The only things you can pull something out of are things that you put something into. You can only extract something good out of something that has been poured into, including your damn children. So when you look at the Black community and you see it falling apart and you see the infrastructure deteriorating, you see no businesses, you see broken families, you see kids being shot down everywhere, ask yourself that basic question: who's investing in the Black community, and who do we expect to invest in the Black community? I dare to say that our biggest problem, is that we have gotten in the habit of believing that is the job of white people. That somehow somebody miraculously is going to come along and fix a problem that does unfortunately belong to us. That I'm like that, we become like that guy who, you ever know a guy like this who will make like 18 kids, and then you'll be like, how the hell are you going to take care of 18 kids? And then he says something like, well, don't worry about it. My baby's mama got them. Their mamas got them. So they're going to be all right. Somebody going to get them. You ever see that? Like, literally, it's the craziest thing. It's the dumbest thing for a father to say. Like, you literally are just under the assumption that after your raggedy ass went around and populated half the earth, that somebody's going to just come along and take care of your responsibility. Somebody's going to take care of your kids. That is not a healthy mindset. And I see it everywhere. I fight it all the time. You know, I was in a fun back and forth with a comedian. I'm not gonna say his name, but he made jokes about being a terrible father, and I admit it triggered me. It got me going. Like why in the world do you think it's funny that you're traumatizing your children by being a crappy father? Do you understand how that little boy feels when he wants to spend time with his daddy and his daddy ain't thinking about nothing but liquor, weed, and getting more sex from women? Like, that's it. Like, do you understand what the pain that kid goes through? And do you understand what kind of a menace to society you're releasing on the rest of us when you got this child that you poured nothing into? You did nothing to help this kid to become a productive member of the Black community because you're too busy chasing sex or whatever you're doing. And you just somehow think that's okay. And then other people, you know, because the guy, he's a little bit famous, you know, and he's talented, he's funny. Hold on. And this guy, and what's crazy to me is that we co-sign all that. Like, there's not a lot of Black people who will just simply stop and say, shame on you. Shame on you for neglecting your kids. Shame on you for impregnating women and not taking your responsibility. Shame on you for not doing the things you need to do to hold down your part of the community. And what I really think, though, here's the thing. I can't blame them entirely, because that's what white supremacy does. That's how it was designed. White supremacy was designed in such a way where I believe, they never wanted the Black man to be a man. They don't want the Black man to think about grown man stuff. They don't. They kind of want the Black man to look at himself as a child or an imbecile. Like, you're just sitting there like you know, and you walk around and you go, oh, pretty girl, right? And so you're running around having sex, sitting around doing nothing, and you somehow are led to believe that you're just kind of this non-entity with no accountability, no responsibility, run away from responsibility every chance you get. And they promote this in movies, by the way. This is promoted heavily in movies. I pointed this out to my son. I told him, I said, look at this movie right now. We were watching Transformers, and I said, notice how in this movie, the white man is the brave alpha male who solves the problem, who stays cool under fire, who pulls out the gun and comes up with a solution because he takes accountability of putting the community on his back so that he can become the hero in the battle against evil. Right? That's what it is. It's like, oh, they're coming. Oh, we got to get the guns. Get ready. You go over there. You stand on that station. You pick up the trenches now. Right? That's what the white guy does. And then I said, look at the Black guy. The Black guy is sitting there like the biggest punk you ever saw in your life. He's like, oh Lord, I don't want to get shot. I can't. I'm gonna go to jail. Is I gonna go to jail? Look, Leroy, pick up the gun. No, I can't go to jail. I'm too pretty to go to jail. That's what the Black guy ends up doing. Right? The Black guy ain't taking no responsibility or accountability. He's scared to death. He's a little coward. He's a punk. He's not solving any problems. Nobody can stand behind him and get support. He's the comic relief. That's why you have so many Black males that become really super famous, super rich comedians, because they perpetuate this image of the Black man as being just a complete clown. Not a leader, not a soldier, not a winner, not a champion, not somebody other people can depend on. Just the clown that just tells jokes and get scared. That's it. And I hate those roles. If you watch Tyrese and Ludacris's roles on Fast and Furious, that hovers in that space. Not completely, though. Ludacris's character is like a computer expert, right? So he's really smart. But if you watch, they do a step and fetch it kind of routine where they're usually afraid whenever the brave men are like fighting, like, you know, and they get these racially ambiguous guys where they're kind of white, kind of non-white, and you're not really sure. It's like Vin Diesel and The Rock and the other white guy, Paul Walker. They're the ones who are taking on the bad guys. They're the ones who are out fighting and doing all sorts of. Ludacris and Tyrese's characters are in the back telling jokes, being afraid, and then arguing with each other. Right, like again, step and fetch it. Now you's a fool. No, you a fool. Get over here, fool. Why you come in there, fool? He got me in the headlock, right? And it becomes really, really funny. That they do, and they had and I remember once I wrote an article about a Transformers movie like that, where they had, these were robots, but you could tell that two of the robots were clearly black. They were clearly urban. It was made a long time. It was made like in 2011. I think it was like the first or the second one. Go look at it. And these robots were really funny, but they did that same traditional step and fetch it role, and it was clear that they were black. Like they had a real urban-y kind of, nah, fool, nah, mo, you get your ass over here, boy. You know, right? And they did the same thing. They would start fighting each other, or when the battle happens, they would run and be scared and they would hide, right? That's the role that they perpetuate of black men. So this is why, and I want you to translate this into what you see in your community, right? I want you to kind of understand why you have so many men that just run away from responsibility. Because they have no idea what masculinity looks like. And maybe they think masculinity means drinking a beer and putting your penis into a woman's vagina. That's what they think masculine, that's what they think it starts and it ends. But they don't understand that masculinity, there's a version of masculinity and leadership in terms of defending territory that has existed for the last 100,000 years of humanity, where the most masculine males are the ones who stand in the role of warriors and kings, or the warrior king, who is defensive and protective of the territory, the men, the women, and the children. They make sure that the invaders don't come in and wreak holy hell on everybody inside the kingdom. Those men, unfortunately, they do exist, but those are not the men that media wants to point to, because they need black men to fall in line, right? So the way to do this is an old tactic of white supremacy. This is an old racist thing. You get the gay men, you make them the most popular men in the black community. So all the black men want to look like, anybody seen that, what was that guy, that one guy, Pharrell, I saw Pharrell sitting next to one of the rappers, and they were dressed in like this really gayish Paris fashion, and these little tiny glasses, and they had their legs crossed like little girls, and they look like two little old ladies at church, right? It's so black men see this and they say, oh, if I want to get those same opportunities, I have to be like that. I have to dress like that, right? I have to appear non-threatening. So you get the gay guys, you get the comedians, because comedians, nobody's scared of a guy telling jokes. That's how you make white people comfortable. It's not, it's not a coincidence that we've talked about this, about how many actors, black actors, wear dresses and purses. Like literally, if you did a Google search and you looked up the number of white actors who dressed as women in the last 10 years, that number would be about here. If you looked up the number of black actors who have dressed like women in the last 10 years, that number is here. Now, I want to ask you this. How is this number here lower than this number here, when there are about 10 times more white actors than there are black actors? There are some white actors who have dressed like women, but when I ask people, I say, give me examples of a famous white actor who dressed as a woman. They got to go way back. They got to go back to like Mrs. Doubtfire, which is like 1991, 92. That's a long. Some of y'all weren't even born in 91. They have to go back to what are some others? I can't. Tootsie. I think Tootsie. Again, another movie from the 80s or 80s or early 90s. They have to go way back. But if you want to find a black man who's dressed as a woman, you only got to go back like about 3-4 months. You could probably find some stuff on Saturday Night Live. You can find some stuff on. There's a ton on Saturday. Just the number of instances of a black man dressing as a woman just on SNL in the last 2 years alone probably exceeds the number of total white men who've dressed as women in the last 20 years throughout all of Hollywood. Am I the only person who thinks that's absolutely insane? Do you guys get what I'm saying? I'm trying to draw the picture so you understand what I'm seeing here, what I'm, so this sort of imagery, it bothers me, of course. It's up to us to address that. What it circles back to is that if you are a black man who gets this, and you have black men in your family that want to get this, you have to let them know one important thing. Fixing your community is going to be your responsibility, and it will not happen until you do it. That's it. That's the message. That's the speech on that. Literally, fixing your black community, that's your job. It is not going to happen until you do it. So the question becomes, what are you doing in order to do that? And what areas are you taking accountability? And what areas are you, even the whole conversation when I get into, and people tell me not to even get into these debates, but I have to as a black man, I got to jump in these conversations. When we talk about even little things like like some of the men that make fun of other men who might marry a single mother and take responsibility for their children. And they literally will go on entire marketing campaigns. You got these lazy, pathetic men who literally will market this idea that marrying a single mother makes you a loser. That why in the hell would I marry a single mother? Why am I going to go and take responsibility for all your mistakes when you wanted to go get pregnant by a thug and all that? And it was the craziest thing in the world to me. And because I said, look, if you don't want to marry a single mother, that's okay. You don't have to do that. Nobody's telling you to do that. But don't make fun of the men who are courageous, intelligent, and strong enough to clean up the messes that have been left by lazy ass niggas. And this is the last time I'm gonna use that word. I save that word. I use it every now and then, maybe once at Christmas or something for special occasions. But seriously, that lazy, these guys, these bums that are making all these babies and not taking care of them, and these kids are gonna grow up, become mass shooters. They're going to become gangbangers. They're going to come out here and rape people's daughters and rob people and steal and end up in prison. And you've got men that are saying, I know this isn't my son, but I'm going to take him in like he's my own. That man is a hero. He's a hero. You don't make fun of that guy. You honor him because he's doing something you're not willing to do. You say, man, hey, I wouldn't do what you're doing, but hey, bro, thumbs up to you. Here's a beer for you. It's like the soldiers. It's like when my father went to Vietnam. I'm still mad about that to this day. It's still this is y'all getting in my trigger points here. But I remember my father told me about how horrible Vietnam was for him. When he went to Vietnam at the age of 17, and they pushed him out of the airplane because he wouldn't get out. And so he slept in a ditch that night, and he's hearing mortar fire going off, and he's 10,000 miles away from home, scared to death. And so as a result, he just went through this crazy hell. He got into heroin while he was there. He had to fight a heroin addiction when he came home. And so he's been through this hell. He's traumatized through the roof. And first thing he does is he runs into a stupid hippie who calls him a baby killer. You baby killer? Now, mind you, this hippie wouldn't pick up a gun to defend his own mother. This hippie ain't never been through nothing in his life. He has no idea what it feels like to be shot at 10,000 miles away from home. If you depended on hippies like this, these little punk ass college boys who don't want to go fight for the country, if we depended on those people to defend the country, then we might as well start speaking Chinese. We would get invaded tomorrow. They would say, oh, America's been taken over by punks. Oh, now Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are just gonna come over and take America because y'all ain't got nobody defending the shores. And so I remember saying to my dad, I said, it's one thing if somebody says, I choose not to go into the military. I can respect that. But for somebody to have the audacity to call you a baby killer when you went over and did a job that they're unwilling to do, I said, if I was in that space, if I could go back, if I had a time machine, I would find those people and kick them in the face. Because how dare they watch you go do something that is a necessary job? You need your soldiers. You need somebody that's willing to defend the territory. You need somebody that's willing to stand up. You need somebody that's willing to fight. And it's okay if you aren't willing to fight, or you don't have what it takes to fight, or you don't have the discipline to fight, but you sit back and you need to at least show honor and respect to those who do. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I see a father or a man who is taking accountability for like all the boys on the football team that ain't got no daddies, or he married a woman and he says, you know what, these are not my stepkids, these are going to be my kids, y'all all belong to me. I see men like that and I say, thank you so much. The community needs you. Somebody's daughter didn't get raped because you're raising him to be a decent young man right now. Somebody's family didn't get robbed. Somebody's child is going to have a decent husband one day because you took the time to. There's going to be one less stripper on a stripper pole because you gave that little girl love when her own damn daddy was too busy chasing women and weed and liquor in order to check in on her. So thank you to every father out here that is doing the job that a lot of these Negroes won't do. And so again, I'm not shaming you if you won't do the job, but if you're not willing to do any of the job, I'm telling you to kindly shut your dumb ass up. Shut up. Sit down. Be quiet. The grown-ups are in the room. The real men are going to lead the conversation from this point on. So all the real men, all the strong women, all the people that are committed to Black folks that want to pour back into the community, I need you to use your voice and to identify the bums and the losers who want to somehow pee on everything that represents progress in our community. Any man who says, "Oh, well, that's a simp," I wouldn't do. He gonna marry some lady, take care of her kids. I wouldn't. Just tell him, be quiet, shut up. He's doing something you ain't willing to do. Sit down. You got 3 babies, mamas, and you ain't taking care of none of your kids. He's 10 times more of a man than you'll ever be. So that's where I stand on this, and I don't care. I'll talk about this till the day I die, because I think that you got to understand what's happening in your community. You have to understand why you're losing. They trained so many of your men to be very weak, and then the women, they've traumatized the women, and the women, y'all ain't perfect either. And I think unless we have honest conversations about this, nothing's ever going to change. And fixing problems in our community, that is our job. We have to do it. If we never do it, it'll never get done. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do in your life? What are you going to change tomorrow? How are you going to pick up the torch a little bit more? How are you going to take on a little more responsibility? How are you going to level up your life? What does that mean for you? I don't know what that means for you. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their demons to fight. But I'm telling you, face the demon and fight that damn thing. Stand up. You can do this. I hope that this was helpful. That's it. I'm not going to read anymore. I have been, I hope, I know this was probably the least reading from the book that we've ever done in our Powernomics meeting. And I hope it was okay for me to go into the areas that I feel like we needed to discuss. I promise you we'll get through this book. Believe it or not, we've only got about 2 more pages left. And then we're going to start on the Black History Reader. And I got that posted up right here. It's already here. Dr. Anderson's books are all at powernomics.com. So if you go to powernomics.com, you can get all of his books. He is a brilliant man. The Black History Reader is so good. Like literally, I can open to a random page and read stuff that you probably never learned in school. Listen to this. I literally opened this book. Let me show you how good the Black History Reader is. I opened the book randomly to page 160. Question 53. How do immigration policies specifically injure Native Black Americans? You're not going to learn this in school. He says, throughout the history of North America, waves of immigrants have entered the country to take advantage of the considerable economic opportunities extended to them and to enjoy the elevated status, respect, and privileges they automatically receive over Blacks in the labor force. Since the Black descendants of slaves are not immigrants, they are excluded from the privileged status, benefits, and rights extended to immigrants and must compete with every immigrant for basic rights and life resources. Immigrants and Blacks compete for space, rights, and economic privileges. Reaching Black America has been a dream come true for immigrants, but it has been a nightmare for many Native Black Americans and their forefathers. Space. Although a growing number of legal and illegal immigrants are located in the suburbs, most immigrants find residential and commercial space in urban areas. Once they establish a toehold in the urban centers, they then mark and close that space, which we don't do, using their language, culture, or religion as barriers to encroachment. Within the confines of their closed communities, they concentrate their resources and build socioeconomic enclaves or niches. Immigrant niches can be found in most urban areas like Detroit, Miami, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, New York, the District of Columbia, San Francisco, and Chicago. After closing their territories, they mark them in their cultural images as Koreatown, Chinatown, Frenchtown, Japantown, Little Cuba, Greektown, or Mexican Town. As their numbers grow, they spread out and gentrify Black areas such as Harlem in New York City, Overtown, Liberty City, and Coconut Grove in Miami, Inglewood, Compton, and Watts in the Los Angeles area, and Sweet Auburn in Atlanta. All these formerly Black-dominated cities are now occupied predominantly by Hispanic immigrants. Numerical displacement means economic and political influence by Blacks in mainstream society, diminished economic influence. Since 1900, the Hispanic population increased from 100,000 to 55 million in 2016. They have surpassed and made Black Americans a minority. Hispanics boast that they are now the nation's new majority minority and will gentrify urban residential areas along with whites and Asians, displacing Blacks. And then he talks about the impact on economics, the impact on employment, the impact on education, the impact on affirmative action. In fact, we should read the little part about affirmative action, since that's a relevant topic in the media right now. Affirmative action programs were originally designed to correct injustices for one race of people, blacks by another race of people, whites, and to eliminate the legacies of slavery and Jim Crow segregation. Today, affirmative action programs have been converted into preference programs for immigrants, though most categories of immigrants are white and have never been negatively impacted by the racism and racial conditions that caused these programs to be necessary. This error can be traced to the Immigration and Reform Control Act of 1986, which effectively required employers to treat immigrants exactly like native-born citizens. Since nearly 90% of all immigrants are classified as white on their immigration records and driver's licenses, why aren't immigrants treated like whites and excluded from affirmative action? Why are they categorized with blacks only in the instance of affirmative action? Putting apples and oranges in the same category set up a situation where immigrants of any race displace blacks from the very programs designed to help them. It is not possible to justify including Hispanics, Arabs, Asians, and other immigrants and women who are a majority in affirmative action programs. Yet, in 2016, black civil rights leaders, elected officials at the highest levels, and other members of the black overclass publicly supported immigration reform and granting citizenship to 12 to 20 million illegal immigrants that had entered the country since 1990. The black overclass agreed with those who wanted to reach out and invite even millions more immigrants. Our federal and state governments may have reasons to support increased immigration, but they have a moral obligation to avoid and correct the devastating harm it has caused Native Black Americans. That's one page I randomly grabbed out of that book. Give me a yes or no. How many of you have learned any of that in school? How many of you would have heard anything like that in school? Your kids, would your kids have heard anything like this in the public school? Was there a lie in anything that I read there based on what you have seen, what you know? No. This is why Dr. Claude Anderson is a national treasure. This is why Dr. Claude Anderson, and this is up to us, is a person that should be honored throughout the world in life and in death. Dr. Claude Anderson, in my view, gives us an opportunity to do something that we must do, which is to create our own heroes. There are others out there too. Dr. George C. Fraser, Professor James Small, Francis Cress Welsing, right? There's so many other people that should be, in our mind, on par or above any celebrity that's on TV, any Negro with a record deal, anybody who's written your favorite book, anybody that you know in the music or entertainment industry. All these people are secondary to people like this. This is the stuff that you never got to know that has a huge impact on your life, your outcomes, and your opportunities. And this is the stuff that's too politically incorrect to be stated by any of our politicians. That's the next book we're going to read. That's where we're going to go next. Okay. And I kid you not, I put it on a stack of Bibles. I did not plan to read that section. I literally opened the page randomly and I kept reading because I said, oh, he's talking about affirmative action. Think about this. He wrote this before he knew the Supreme Court was going to ban affirmative action, but that's a relevant topic right now. He wrote that before he knew about what's going on right now with them flooding cities like Chicago and New York with people that just came across the border last week. Chicago's got a new black mayor, Brandon Johnson. I think that's his name. And he's literally dropping all of these people from other countries into black neighborhoods and putting black people at the back of the line. In Chicago, they're passing bills to get tens of millions of dollars into the hands of people that just got here and have been denying that money to people who've been demanding it for years, maybe decades. This is the political environment that we're in. But again, it's not going to change until we change. If we don't change, it won't change. Okay. All right. I'm done for tonight. I hope this conversation was good for you. I hope that you learned something today. I know that I know I went hard in different directions, but I let the spirit lead me. I just trust what comes out of my mouth. Hopefully it won't be anything too crazy. And I want to encourage you, do your best, be smart, raise your kids, love your families, invest for your future. That's what's going to make you successful. If you allow me, I'd like to mention a couple of things we have going on in the Black Business School. One, the All Black National Convention happens October 20th. It's going to be in Atlanta. You can just not only get passes for your family, but we also have spots if you want to be a vendor. Our vendors make money. Ask any vendor who's been there. There's plenty of opportunities. There's plenty of people there that are already prepared to buy Black. So it's a great way to build your business. We want to partner with the Black business community in a really productive way. Number two, if you want to be a sponsor, you can also do that too. And sponsors get extra promotion. The more you support us, the more we'll do for you. It's a direct quid pro quo. We will have a virtual pass that you can obtain, so you can watch it virtually if that's what you choose to do. Being there is really magical. There's no way to describe how amazing it is to actually be in the room. But if you want to do it virtually, that's totally fine. Also, that text list where I send out the stock selections each week, you can text the word stock to 31996. Just text the word stock to 31996. What I'll do is I'll send you the list of AI stocks that I like right away. I'll also send you once a week, I'll send you a stock that I like, and maybe some more stuff along the way. I'll send you the $5 a day investing plan that you can do for your kids. You got to do this now. Your kids are your grandkids. You got to start investing for them. If you don't have grandkids yet, start investing for them now. Wealth is built by time. Time is a financial asset. So the more time you have, the more money you can build up. Give them a running start. So if you don't have grandkids yet, start investing for your grandkids now. If you don't have kids yet, start investing for your kids now. The more time you put in, the more of a benefit they'll receive. All I need you to do is follow the plan. It's really basic. And don't sell your assets. Just don't sell. That's it. Just don't sell. That's what rich people do. Hold on to what you have. All right. So text the word stock to 31996. I'll send that to you. If you could do that right now, that'd be good. That way we stay connected. Next week we'll be back for more training, and I promise we're going to go ahead and finish this book. And I'm going to keep myself focused next time. And I enjoyed speaking with you. I love you, and God bless you. And until we meet again, and I'll see you guys real soon. Take care now. Bye-bye. Oh, and let me mention this. I see Kabibi is in here. I'm going to be visiting with Kabibi's group in Seattle, July 8th. And that's where we're going to do the 4-hour training in Seattle. So if you'd like to join us there, just go to boycewatkins.com. There's a link there with all the information. It's July 8th. It's 4 hours. We're going to do a deep dive on my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So in the event that you want to fly to Seattle or you live in the area, you're certainly welcome to join us there. All right. Have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you soon.